My name is Eileen, and I am 63 years old. After spending more than 3 decades as a school principal, raising 2 wonderful children, and building what I believed was a very clear understanding of who I was, I thought I had reached a place of calm certainty. My husband Neil passed away 5 years ago. Since then, I've carefully constructed a life centered around simple, soothing routines. Early morning walks through the neighborhood, tending to my garden, and staying closely connected with my family. I genuinely believed I had left behind the excitement, the unpredictability, and the emotional intensity of my younger days. But something shifted in me recently, something subtle yet profound, in ways I still find myself reflecting upon. It didn't begin with anything dramatic. It started softly, almost imperceptibly. A lingering conversation, a shared moment of understanding, a quiet connection that felt completely innocent at first. My son Adam has a dear friend named Caleb, who has been part of our family circle for many years. To me, he was always like an extra son, someone I trusted deeply, respected, and cared for like my own. He carried himself with such thoughtfulness and quiet strength that his presence always brought a sense of comfort to our home. Then one ordinary afternoon, everything felt just a little different. There was a stillness between us, a kind of unspoken awareness that neither of us quite knew how to name or address. Looking back now, it's still difficult to fully understand how a lifetime of stability and self-assurance could suddenly feel so delicate, so open to new questions and emotions. That single day left me pondering long afterward, wondering what had truly taken place and why it continued to occupy my thoughts. My life, I should say, has never been extraordinary, and that's perfectly fine with me. I've always preferred it that way. Steady, meaningful, and grounded. After more than 30 years shaping young minds as a school administrator, I chose to retire so I could finally enjoy slower, more peaceful days alongside my husband. Neil was a kind, dependable man. Though we had our differences, as all couples do, our love was deep and genuine. Losing him 5 years ago was one of the hardest things I've ever faced. In the time since, I found comfort and strength in the small rituals of daily life and in the close bonds I share with my children, especially my son Adam. Adam is now 35, a reliable and hardworking engineer much like his father. His steady nature and determination always remind me so much of Neil. Caleb, on the other hand, has a gentle, contemplative personality that makes everyone around him feel at ease. He's considerate, polite, and carries a calm energy that I've always appreciated. Over the years, watching Adam and Caleb remain such close friends has brought me a great deal of joy and gratitude. One sunny afternoon, after spending several hours working in my garden, pruning roses, pulling weeds, and feeling the warm earth beneath my hands, I decided to treat myself to a quiet cup of tea and a relaxing afternoon indoors. Adam was away on a work trip, so the house was peacefully silent. Just as I was about to settle into my favorite armchair with a book, I heard a gentle knock at the door. When I opened it, there stood Caleb, smiling warmly. "Oh, Caleb, what? A lovely surprise," I said. "It's so nice to see you. If you're not in a hurry, please come inside and join me for some tea." He paused for a moment, then nodded with a soft smile. "I'd really enjoy that, Mrs. Caldwell. It's been a while." We moved into the living room, and after I brought out the tea and some homemade biscuits, we sat down to talk. At first, our conversation was light and easy. We spoke about his work, updates from Adam, neighborhood news, and simple everyday things. But there was something different in the air that day. Maybe it was the quiet of the empty house, or the relaxed pace of our exchange, but I began to feel an unusual sense of comfort and ease in his company. As I handed him his cup, our fingers brushed lightly. I pulled my hand back quickly, laughing a little awkwardly, and for a brief moment, we both sat in a gentle, slightly embarrassed silence. It was such a small thing, just a fleeting touch. Yet in that instant, I became aware of a warmth and a sense of connection that felt deeper than ordinary friendship. I quickly told myself it was nothing, just my imagination playing tricks because of the peaceful afternoon and the stillness around us. But as we continued talking, I found myself noticing little details I hadn't paid attention to before. The way he leaned forward when listening, his quiet, genuine laughter, and the thoughtful look in his eyes. It felt as though an invisible thread of understanding had formed between us, something gentle and unspoken that both of us sensed but neither mentioned. By the time Caleb left that day, I was left with a strange mixture of feelings, a quiet awareness of his presence that hadn't existed before. I tried to brush it aside, telling myself it meant nothing at all. Still, the memory stayed with me, bringing a soft sense of anticipation and a touch of confusion. In the days that followed, I couldn't completely shake that afternoon from my mind, even though I tried to convince myself it was just a normal, friendly visit. The warmth of that conversation and the feeling of genuine companionship lingered. Caleb had always been like family, someone I had watched mature from a young college student into a thoughtful, accomplished young man. Yet now I found myself reflecting on how comforting it felt to simply talk with him, to feel seen and heard in a way I hadn't experienced in quite some time. A week later, Caleb stopped by again, this time to return a book he had borrowed. He seemed relaxed and at ease, so I invited him to stay for a while. Once more, that same gentle warmth returned as we sat and talked. Our conversation moved naturally from everyday topics to more personal reflections. He shared thoughts about his career, the challenges of moving forward in life, and the balance he was trying to find. As I listened, I felt a deep sense of pride, almost like a mother watching someone she cares about grow into their own person. But there was also a new layer of appreciation, a sincere enjoyment of his company and the calm, respectful way he carried himself. Over the next few weeks, his visits became more frequent. Each time he came over, I felt a mix of happiness and quiet unease. I truly enjoyed our conversations and the sense of companionship he brought into my quiet home. After years of living alone following Neil's passing, his presence filled a space I hadn't fully realized was empty. Yet at the same time, I began to worry. I didn't want to cross any invisible lines or allow the relationship to become something that might complicate our family ties or feel inappropriate given our age difference and his close friendship with my son. One evening, while we sat together, looking through an old family photo album, we laughed over funny stories and shared memories. For a few precious moments, I felt a lightness and sense of connection I hadn't experienced in years. When his arm gently brushed against mine as he leaned in to see a photograph, I felt my heart stir, not with anything improper, but with a deep, unexpected appreciation for human warmth and understanding after so much solitude. I knew in that moment that I had to be careful. I valued this friendship too much to let it drift into complicated territory. So I began gently creating some space. I filled my days with new activities, joining a local gardening club, taking longer walks, volunteering at the community center, and spending more time with old friends. I wanted to nurture my own sense of peace and fulfillment without relying on anyone else to fill the quiet corners of my life. Despite these efforts, the connection we had formed remained strong. Caleb continued to visit occasionally, always respectful and kind. We both seemed to understand, without ever saying it aloud, that we needed to protect the beautiful friendship we shared and honor the boundaries that kept it healthy and appropriate. After several weeks of thoughtful reflection, I realized the root of what I had been feeling. It wasn't really about Caleb specifically. It was about the loneliness that had quietly settled into my life after losing Neil. A longing for meaningful conversation, gentle companionship, and the feeling of being truly seen. Caleb had simply been the person who reminded me how much I still needed those things. With that clarity, I made the decision to speak with him openly and kindly. When he came by one evening, I invited him to sit down and shared my thoughts from the heart. "Caleb," I began gently, "I've been doing a lot of thinking about our friendship, and I want to be honest with you. I've come to value our conversations and your company more than I can easily express. But I also realize that I need to focus on finding peace and contentment within myself. For that reason, I believe it would be best if we create a little more space between our visits. I don't want to lose the friendship we have, but I want to make sure it stays healthy and respectful for everyone involved." He listened quietly, his expression full of understanding and a touch of sadness. "I completely understand, Mrs. Caldwell," he said softly. "I never wanted to make anything difficult for you or for Adam. Your friendship has meant a great deal to me, too." We sat together for a little while longer in comfortable silence, both acknowledging that this was a necessary and caring choice. Before he left, he gave me a warm, respectful hug, the kind that felt like a sincere farewell to a special chapter. When the door closed behind him, I felt a wave of emotions. Sadness for the companionship I would miss, but also a profound sense of relief and quiet strength. I knew I had made the right decision. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing and rediscovering myself. I poured more love into my garden, reconnected with old friends, started journaling my thoughts, and spent meaningful time with my children. I learned that loneliness after loss is natural, but it doesn't have to be filled by leaning too heavily on any one person. True peace comes from within, from nurturing our own hearts, honoring our boundaries, and appreciating the many forms of love and connection that life offers when we stay open in healthy ways. This experience, though bittersweet, taught me something deeply valuable at this stage of my life: that the heart can still form new, meaningful bonds at any age, but wisdom lies in knowing when to cherish them from a safe and appropriate distance. I feel more grounded now, more at peace with myself, and grateful for the gentle reminder that life can still surprise us, sometimes by showing us what we need to let go of in order to grow. And that, my friends, is my story.